إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا وبعد. قال سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل يا أهل الكتاب لا تغلوا في دينكم غير الحق ولا تتبعوا أهواء قوم قد ضلوا من قبل وأضلوا كثيرا وضلوا عن سواء السبيل. صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Respected scholars, beloved elders, beloved brothers and sisters, and our beloved youth, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. After sending praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, salutations upon His beloved Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from us as we always do, inshaAllah. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. We have to say Ameen. We don't know if someone in the Jama'ah's dua is going to be accepted and all of us will get forgiveness because of that person's Ameen. Because that person implores Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't know. We don't know when our du'as are accepted, and therefore we have to take every opportunity to do so. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us, inshaAllah. Inshallah, today I would like to look at a topic that perhaps does not only come as a solution to today's problem, literally today's problem, but a solution to all the problems, or many of the problems that we face in this ummah as Muslims. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us in the Quran, as I have recited in the beginning, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, قُلْ يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ, say, O people of the book, لَا تَغْلُوا فِي دِينِكُمْ غَيْرَ الْحَقِّ, O you who believe, do not be excessive, do not exceed in your religion. فِي دِينِكُمْ غَيْرَ الْحَقِّ, go beyond the rights which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed upon you in your religion. وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا أَهْوَاءَ قَوْمٍ, and do not follow in the footsteps of those people قَدْ ضَلُّوا مِنْ قَبْلِ, that have gone astray before you. وَضَلُّوا كَثِيرًا وَضَلُّوا عَنْ سَوَاءِ السَّبِيلِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, don't follow the vain desires of people who went wrong in times before, who misled many. وَضَلُّوا كَثِيرًا, they were not only had they gone astray, but they caused other people to go astray as well. وَضَلُّوا عَنْ سَوَاءِ السَّبِيلِ, and who strayed themselves from the fair way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the right way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, when we consider, and why I say the problem literally of today, because we find ourselves in what the Western world and the commercial world have called Valentine's Day. And I'm not here to speak about Valentine's Day, because if I was going to waste one of the 52 Jumu'ahs of the year to only speak about Valentine's Day, it's giving too much credit to the idea of Valentine's Day. But I want to speak about an understanding that results from the notion of Valentine's Day and other such days that we find in a Western and commercial society, that we need to be able to understand how to engage with it. Because for as long as I can remember, the ulama have been telling us to abstain from Valentine's Day. As long as I can remember, I don't know about you, if you remember the Jumu'ahs, I see many people in the Jama'ah, their hair is already grey and white, and it's an indication not only of age but also of wisdom. And maybe also the memory will tell you if you go back. People have always been saying and cautioning the Muslims against the celebration of Valentine's Day and the dangers that lurk within the day. While Islam is not opposed to the idea of love, in fact, to the contrary, Islam promotes the idea of love. But at the same time, there are certain other notions that come up with that result in things that are un-Islamic. But I'm not here, like I said, to speak to you about the haram or the bad things. Because for too long we've been saying, the ulama have been telling us, when I was a young boy going to the masjid, I remember around this time we were cautioned. I remember we were cautioned and cautioned and cautioned by the madrasas. We were cautioned by our parents. We were cautioned by the ulama about the dangers lurking behind the celebration and commemoration of this particular day. Not only this day, I'm using this day because we find ourselves on the 14th of February today, but it could be any other day where this could apply to, or that this could apply to. But at some point, yesterday I was watching Sona. Obviously it was delayed by 1 hour 17 minutes, and when we eventually got to watch Sona and hear what the president had to say, I kept thinking, I don't remember what he said last year. I have an idea, but I don't remember what happened last year. What were the promises that he made that this year he went back? For all I know, he could have been repeating what he said last year. I wouldn't know any better. And I think, while that may not be the case, in some cases, he went back and he said, last year we said so and so and so. This year I'm giving you feedback. By now, we have reached this stage of implementation. We've reached this, we've reached that. And he was giving basically a feedback of where some of those ideas had reached to a particular point. Allah knows, but that's what I heard, right? And I'm not here to give a commentary on Sona 2020, but suffice to say, I'm giving you an analogy of how someone needs to come back about what they said. Now, if we were to do the same thing, if we were to go back and say, the ulama have been speaking for 20, 30, 40, 50 years about the dangers lurking in Valentine's, let's do an assessment to see how constructive and how productive and how effective have these warnings and cautions been in our community. Then I will step back and say, whoa, I don't know. Because more and more Muslims are getting involved. You would think that the contrary would be true. You would think that less and less people would have been engaging in this silly notion, right? You would have thought that based on 20 years, if you're hearing the same message 20, 30 years, but it's making no difference, either the message is wrong, or your attention is wrong, or something is wrong, but we cannot say that it is right all the time and just say, just continue. They say if you always do what you've always done, if you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always gotten. Right? If you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always gotten. So at some point, some revolutionary mind has to take this notion and say, listen, this isn't working. We need to understand better why this is a problem. These things are problematic in our community. We can come to other ideas later on. The idea that there are dangers in it, a few years ago there was a high school student who was threatening suicide because someone hadn't given her a rose on Valentine's Day. And those are all things, by the way, that we're looking on the side. But I have to ask myself the important question. The important question, the burning question, that as someone living in South Africa, who grew up, born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, studied a little bit after the turn of the millennium, and finding myself at the age in my 30s now in 2020, what are the realities, practically, that I need to deal with when it comes to engaging with commercial and ideological celebrations that happen around me as a Muslim in a minority country, as a Muslim minority in this country? How do I engage with it? Because you can go to your children today and say to them, hang on, don't do this and don't do that. But you send them to the school that makes the celebration. You send them to the school in which they have to wear red and white today, which they are encouraged to do. You send them in the school where when someone gives them a rose or when they send a rose to someone else, they are applauded, they are respected. The people regard the attention from the opposite sex as tantamount to respect, and you send them to a school like that and you tell them, don't be part of it. You are taking your child who you know may be addicted to drugs and you put him in a drug-ridden society. What do you expect will happen after that? What do you expect will happen after that? For any adult or parent to think that they are doing a favor by sending their children to these institutions while they don't want their children to be exposed to those kind of ideologies, it's completely foolish. I would rather say that, not that I'm against sending your children to better and higher levels of educational institutions, but what I am saying is, instead of saying to them no, understand and teach them how to engage with the society and the community and the pressures that they will be encountering in a very short way. We are very quick to give our children tuition so that they can be prepared for a higher level of maths. We are very prepared to give our children an extra tuition when it comes to Afrikaans or English or whatever other subject there may be that they are struggling in. But what do we understand? That they may have a spiritual and a psychological struggle that we don't cater for at all. How are we viewing the world correctly? And tomorrow the Imam will come and stand in front of the Masjid and say, Valentine's is wrong, and there is 100 people sitting at the back of the Masjid that have gone to buy flowers. The flowers today is not even real, it can't even represent your love. It's plastic flowers from China. Maybe it's even got the virus on it and you're giving it to your loved ones. What are you saying to her if you give her the virus? I love you. My wife said to me, if I buy her one more Valentine's gift, stupid Valentine's gift, she's going to burn it. So I bought the agarbatti, I bought the miyan stokis. No, I'm just like that, I didn't buy anything. The point I want to say is, we are putting our children in this environment, but we are not giving them the necessary tools to navigate in this environment about these particular things. We barely understand it ourselves. And while I said I'm not going to speak about Valentine's Day, I'm not referring only to Valentine's Day. It could be the day of Ascension, that your child is at the school where they give off or they give a holiday for the day of Ascension. Does your child, they are engaging, they just know he's staying at home. They don't understand that they're moving into a society where the Christians are celebrating the day of Ascension. What happened on that day? How did it happen? When your child goes to school, they are looking at the Easter bunny and they want the Easter egg because the chocolate, which child doesn't like an egg? Which child doesn't like sweet things? So you tell your child, no, we can't have that Easter egg. You must have this one that is shaped like something else. That one is the Easter egg itself. But you are not, you must understand something. We are past the day and age where my parents used to say, why are you asking so many questions? In my day, if I didn't even dare ask my parents any questions. When the parents of old would say to their children, stay away, they stayed away. There was no oof, there was no up. Today you're living in an age of information. You're living in an age of internet. You're living in an age of technology. You're living in an age post-apartheid where schools and people and races and genders intermix and intermingle. And you ask yourself, are your children going to be satisfied with the same responses that you were satisfied with from your parents? How can we not have evolved and developed and changed and applied our minds and our understanding to the evolution of our children and the evolution of the minds of our children from time to time? As Muslims, we are guilty of being caught on the back foot. We have not adopted a proactive approach. The minute we were allowed to go after 1994, everybody was allowed to go to this school and that school. It was more about what sport the school was offering, what academic caliber the school was offering. We forgot to look at the psychological challenges that our children will have to engage in. We forgot to prepare our children for an environment while they were accustomed to living in a Muslim environment, in an Islamic environment. We forgot to prepare them how to live with Nasara and Yahud. By all means, we should be living in peace and harmony. But at the same time, when questions are being posed, how did we prepare our children for this? Today, our children, only get 1 or 2 hours of madrasa after school, and that too only until they are grade 7. Beyond that, it's only a handful that go to madrasa that can equip them. And even the syllabus in our madrasas are still teaching only about how to read the Quran. They are not necessarily teaching your children how to engage in a post-apartheid, multicultural, multilingual, multiracial, multi-gendered society. They're not teaching that. So we as Muslims will always be caught on the back foot because we are not preempting the problems that come with the development and evolution of the dunya. And that is important. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً. We are taught as Muslims to strike a balance between the world and the hereafter. We are not expected to sit in the mountains like hermits. We are not expected to exclude ourselves from society. As Muslims, it is our responsibility to engage with society, but to engage with society readily, aware, conscious, understanding our responsibility to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while we execute our responsibility to mankind and the dunya and the people that live around us. Brothers and respected elders, let us apply for a few moments in this Jumu'ah today. Let us not let our presence here be bereft of any kind of engagement or any kind of thinking. Let us ask ourselves, as people here, when we engage, when our children, and we're going to use the day of Valentine's as an example only, but you could apply this to other things as well. Why are our children so intrigued? Why are they so engaged? Why are they so caught up? And not only the children, the youth, beyond that as well, university-going students, and even into adulthood. Why are we so intrigued and engaged with what this day has to offer? Just a quick 1-minute reminder. Saint Valentine's was someone who lived in the Roman Empire under King Claudius, I think it was the second. And he was a priest who, to cut the long story short, basically they were enrolling single, unmarried men to go and fight in wars and in battle and, like army duty. And so basically what happened was, in order to prevent that, what my understanding is, in order to prevent that, if they were married, they were allowed some kind of leverage or some kind of leeway. And Saint Valentine, or as they would call him a saint, but this priest was marrying the boys and the girls so that they could, because he was against, he felt that married people in the society was better. And while at some point there may be some nobility to the idea, we must realize something. Oh, and he becomes a saint later because he's in jail, and the jailer is, as legend has it, the jailer's daughter receives a great amount of benefit from Saint Valentine, and he's killed on a day where there was some other festival that was celebrated on the 14th. And so it was more to do with the celebration that was changing of the seasons once again, as it was in other celebrations. It was more to do with the changing of the seasons, and so they adopted Valentine's celebration also around this time. Nonetheless, to say to you, as Muslims, that this idea has been hijacked and adopted by obviously a few people or many people who decided that this can become a commercial spin, or they put a commercial spin on it. And so if you drive by the various stores, you will find that Valentine's gifts in the form, like I said, of plastic flowers nowadays. No one wants real flowers. They don't have that. Only very few people can afford the real flowers. They give you plastic flowers. They give you a mug, everything, the teddy bear, what all the balloons and whatever the case is to make you feel great. That in itself has its dangers, but more importantly, it's been hijacked by those who wanted to have some kind of commercial benefit from it. And we, like fools, don't have an identity of our own, don't have a culture of our own, don't have a religion of our own, don't have an ideology of our own, that we have to run and find the satisfaction of this in other things in the world. May Allah protect us. And the topic of today is about our spiritual void. It's because my consideration and thinking about the topic is that our youth are adopting things, anything, that will make them feel that they are filling some kind of void in their lives. If anybody felt complete, there would be no need to find and look for any satisfaction in anything else. The fact is that we have not become complete and satisfied with what Allah has given us. So we look to fill our spiritual voids with other things. Some of us are into sport. Well, we are not saying sport is bad. Some of us are into sport, but we become so engaged in sport to fill that void. We feel empty. We need that sport in our lives. Our teams, we support them. We spend our money on the memorabilia. We fly there. We go watch them play their soccer games. If they suffer, we have a bad mood. If they win, we have a good mood. We take our families out. We are so involved and engaged in the sport. We are looking for something. Our souls are looking for something to fill that spiritual void that is there. And we forget the ayah of the Quran, أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبِ. It is only the dhikr of Allah, it is only remembering your Creator that actually will fulfill that spiritual void. Now, I didn't say sport was haram. I said, don't look for it as a solution to fill the void, the spiritual void in your life. There are those that get involved in studying, and their studying takes them so far, they have a regiment when it comes to how they're going to study, day and night. They want to advance their academic lives. They spend so much of time advancing their academic lives that it becomes the thing that they think fills the spiritual void in their life. But it's like a puzzle. You can fill it with a smaller piece of puzzle, but it will never fit completely. There will always be gaps. And if your mind doesn't know it, wallahi, believe me, your soul knows it. Your soul knows what it needs to fill that spiritual void. Your mind may not be so aware yet, but your soul knows what it needs to fill that spiritual void. And Allah gives you the answer in the Quran, that it is the remembrance of Allah that will truly fill that spiritual void. Brothers and respected elders, the only way to fill that spiritual void, as we said, is by finding and worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When our children come to us and we know that they are going to be involved or faced with a moral or a spiritual challenge, how do we respond to their plea? They are saying to you, or they are feeling, Mom, Dad, I don't know what's happening in my life. I know that all my friends and peers at school are involved in a particular thing, and I don't want to feel left out. The feeling of not wanting to be left out is not a bad feeling. It is a natural human feeling not to want to be sidelined. Islam encourages a community and togetherness because we know it's natural not to want to be sidelined. It's natural to want to feel apart, and Islam gives you that. But when our children experience that, let's not shun that idea. Let's not shun that. Don't say, hey, what is this? Everybody's busy with nonsense. Why do you also want to be busy with nonsense? They're not saying that to you. They are saying, Mom, Dad, I have to navigate. They don't have the way to articulate themselves. They don't have the words to tell you. But what their souls are crying out is, Mom, Dad, you have put me in an environment in which I need to conform and engage. And I am struggling on how to conform and engage. I don't know what tools to use to navigate in this quagmire of ills and social problems that you have left me to drown in. That's what they're saying to you. And if you shut the door in their face and not make a room for them to engage with you, how will you take your child and allow them to navigate out of that situation? What will eventually happen is they will be in the masjid once you have passed away, and they will sit here with problems of their own, and the Imam in 30, 40 years time will again be saying no to Valentine's Day. Then what? Where have we moved in 20, 30, 40 years? Back. Our wheel is spinning and we are on the same, like hamster's wheel, just standing on the same place. But we're just turning. We feel like we're going very far, but we're going nowhere, slowly. Right? So how can we allow that to happen? Take your children. Understand the context in which your child is being brought up. Understand, and I've been looking at various, religious ways that, I've been looking at other religions as well and seeing how did they combat, how do they choose to combat these situations when it arose in their communities. The reality is that sometimes they've also been caught on the back foot. But, they say fools learn from their mistakes and wise people learn from the mistakes of fools. Let's be wise. Let's not find ourselves having to always make those mistakes over and over again. We can, and we should be able to be one up and ahead of the game when it comes to our children. So when they come to you and ask you, sit your child down, sit someone down, explain to them nicely how this thing came about. That would require you to do some research. that would require you to have some kind of information. Because you can't just tell them and if and was and expect them to understand. They're growing up in an intellectual age. And you need to be able to identify and communicate with them. And if you don't understand, let your child know. I don't know the answer to that yet, but I'll go and do research and I will come back to you. That will force you to go and learn something that your child, but leave the door open for your child to come to you and engage with you. Now some people will say, no, we can't really encourage our children to come speak to us about these things because there is the matter of shyness, there is the matter of haya, and al-haya'u min al-iman, and modesty is part of faith. I don't want my child coming to stand here and tell me, Mommy, Daddy, I have feelings for this boy and this girl. No, that is not what it means to have haya. When your child tells you, they can tell you with haya, but they can still tell you. When they observe respect, which is something you need to look at in their tarbiyah, you need to look at the way you give them, you bring them up. You need to speak to your child when they become mukallaf. And you need to tell them, my boy, my girl, listen, challenges will come your way. And you may not know how to deal with these challenges. But Dad is here. Mom is here. If you don't know how to deal with these challenges, come and speak with me. I would love to help you navigate through these challenges. When you are confused, come and speak with me. So that they can speak to you, not when they burst out at the eating table and you realize, oh my God, my child needs a psychologist at the end of the time because you've not given them a way to express themselves in your home. You've been a monster. You've been having no time to engage with them. All of a sudden, when they start acting out, you want to say, no, my child, something is wrong with him. I need to take him to the psychologist. After 10,000 rand, you realize you need to import one guy from India or Pakistan. He must come watch over your children. And then you want to say the child must come right. No! We cannot be reactive. We need to be proactive. You need to open and understand where your children are at. Allah subhanahu, there's so much I wanted to speak about, just the issue of filling the spiritual void in our lives. That we know, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum, la ta'khudhuhu sinatun wa la nawm, lahu ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard, man dhal ladhi yashfa' 'indahu illa bi'idhnihi, ya'lamu ma bayna aydihim wa ma khalfahum, ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. We are reminded in Ayatul Kursi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah is He besides whom there is no God, the ever-living one, the self-subsisting, by whom all other things exist. Slumber does not overtake Him, sleep does not overtake Him. Whatever is in the heavens and whatever is in the earth is His. Who is He that can intercede except with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He knows what is before them and what is behind them. They cannot comprehend anything out of His knowledge except what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants someone to know. His knowledge extends over the heavens and the earth, and the preservation of them both tires Him not. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can preserve this heaven and the earth, and it doesn't cost Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a single thing. He doesn't get fatigued by it, and He is most high, the great. How often don't we recite this Ayatul Kursi to understand where the solution to our problems are? It is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May He grant us the ability to understand His role in our lives. He is in our lives. We need to understand His role in our lives. Inshallah, then we will worry less. Your child is born with perfect faith, as the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says. There's one of Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, كل مولود يولد على الفطرة. Every child is born on his natural way, on his instinct, which is to submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فأبواه, and his parents either make him a Jew or a Christian, right? Says the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or a Jew or a Christian or a worshipper of something else. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gives an analogy. But basically, all our children, they are born pure. What their perception and understanding of the world is, are only the things that we have exposed them to. What they consider respect, only what you allow them to consider respect. What you show them is respect. What they consider love is what you taught them love could be. So when our children are going there and looking for the attention of others in things other than Islam, don't say, my child, you are wrong. Call your child one side. Understand. And I'm repeating this the third time now. Understand him and engage with him. So therein will be the answer, inshaAllah. When your child eventually finds someone that they love or they like, you're going to have a problem naturally. Because people are starting to like one another at the age of 12 and 13 already. The teachers at the school of my son, when he was in grade 3 or 2, whatever, that's 7, 8, 9 years old, I don't know. They started warning the parents already, please stop the children, boys and girls, from writing letters to each other. They leave notes to each other. Where do they get that from? Where do they understand this from? You put them in front of the TV and say, watch. All those children programs that we call children programs have relationship dimensions to them. Watch them. See them. You will even get engaged and caught up. You want to know who's falling in love with who. All of them have that ingrained in them. When a child comes home and says, Mommy, I like that boy. I like that girl. What are you going to say? What nonsense is this? No boyfriend and girlfriend in my house. But to put them in front of the TV to watch boyfriend and girlfriend. You tell them. You are basically saying to them, admire what is happening on the TV. And then you're telling them, but don't do what they're doing. That is the most cruel kind of thing you could do to your child. Because you know, as they become youth, as they become adolescents now, what's going to happen? You know, in Arabic they call the pimple, the zits, they call it hubbu shabab. They call the pimple hubbu shabab, the love of youth. So when you have a pimple, they know that, hey, and in Cape Town, what do they say? Outer places. Same thing, right? You know that your child is going through that stage now. You know that your children are going through that, right? But you can't talk about the birds and the bees now. It's not for us to talk about. Maybe they will discuss it at school. I was at a non-Muslim school from grade standard 4, grade 6. And I remember there was a week called Sexuality Week. A week in which boys and girls sat in one classroom, had to engage with the teacher on how to use different things, how to use protection, how to use in grade 6. I thought to myself, I felt so embarrassed, not because my parents hadn't spoken to me about that stuff yet. I remember there was a joke that was told to me by one of my friends, and I can't repeat the joke to be in the Masjid here today. And I went and told the joke to my mother. I laughed because I didn't understand the joke. I went and told my mother, I said, Mom, what is a prostitute? And my mom said to me, why are you asking me that question? I said, oh, it's a big word. I don't understand this word. What is happening? And my mom, I could see her turning red in her face. She was turning red and she's dark skinned. She's dark of complexion, so it takes a lot for her to turn red in her face. Right? And she said, why do you ask me that question? I said, no, they were telling a joke at school. I just laughed. Everybody laughed. They understood it. I probably didn't understand it. What is it? And then my mother explained to me. And then she said, now tell me what the joke was. And then I proceeded to tell her, which I'm not going to tell you here today. You see how people's minds are wondering, what does that joke mean? But the point is, we need to engage with this, or you're going to shut and turn a blind eye and say that this is not happening, that we don't understand this. Call your children. Understand that all they need is to fill that spiritual void. Find something for them to fill. That is exciting. Don't tell them go sit and read Quran. Because sitting and reading Quran is important, yes, but that's not what that part of their life is looking to fill. Right? Give them some engagement, have some interesting topic, develop their minds around the academic aspects and understanding and psychological changes that they will be going through. Engage them, understand them, ask them to make decisions. Go for a course on how to be a parent when it comes to adolescent children. So you sit your child down and you say, now my boy, what would you do if you had a daughter? Right? What would you do with your daughter? Would your daughter be able to? Where are you going to look for your wife? How do you want to see your wife? And when they come to you and they say, I've told my son this, and look, I'm not saying that I'm the example here, because I'm very far from the example. I should be in the back of the masjid when it comes to setting examples. But I told my son already, I said to him, listen, when you like someone at school, please come and tell me. I need to know that you are liking someone. First of all, I'll be happy that it's not a boy, right? Secondly, if you like someone, at least now I can tell you how to engage with it. I can say, listen, you know what? Because what happens is your daughter likes someone, and you don't like that same person. But you allow the relationship. Well, I have seen this many times happen. The relationship festers. It becomes, the boy eventually comes into your house. You don't know how to tell the boy to get out of the house. He comes in, he sits there. As my mother used to caution us when we were young, she said, Muni stoeltjies gaan warm sit. So the thing is, so they sit the seats warm, and they're there, they're familiar, they know what you have, they know Friday night is pizza night at your house, they know every detail of your house. They know how the chain in the toilet is broken, they know how to open the system, they know all the secrets of your house basically, right? But you know in your heart of heart, the Imam is saying, oh, I don't actually approve of this boy. Now your daughter comes to you and says, look, I think we want to get married. And you said, I don't think this is the right boy for you. What do you think? She's going to run away? Because she doesn't know how to deal with it. You approved all along. You've given her hope all along. Now if you don't approve of this boy, she's going to run away. Or you're going to have to be forced to make this guy your son-in-law that you don't even get along with. Right? And what ends up happening? They come and see the Imam. And they say to Imam, look, we got this problem. Now I must settle the problems. I'm just doing this talk so that I can lessen my headaches later on in life. But the reality is, so that's what happens. So that's what happens. But if you teach your children before you like someone, when you like someone, before you tell them, come speak to me first. Let me understand that person. I tell you, listen here, this is for you or not for you. Before you put all your eggs in that basket, then I must step on that basket and break all the eggs. I'm going to be the evil one at the end of the day. Even though you go and explain to your child, but I'm only looking in your interest, I love you. Daddy, that's not love. You don't love me. You don't love me. You know you love your child. But she says, Daddy, you don't love me. If you love me, you will say yes. Right? But you have allowed that situation to get that far. So, I'm not going to, we can talk about that and dating and how to approach it, another talk. Basically what I'm saying is, and perhaps we can continue the topic of a spiritual void in our lives in general, but I want to say that our children have the spiritual void in their lives. They have this void and they're looking to fill it. And if they look to fill it with what you have presented them with, don't be surprised. All I'm saying is, at this point, you need to intervene and you need to find something constructive and beneficial so that your children can fill that void with something else until they are ready to get married, inshaAllah. May Allah protect our children. May Allah protect our community. May Allah protect us, inshaAllah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq and hidayah, inshaAllah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.